Tonight, on First at 9 this Thursday the 19th of June 2025. No peace in the Mideast. Iranian strike hits hospital in Beersheba, Israel, killing 32. A Sri Lankan among the injured. Foreign Affairs Minister assures steps will be taken to repatriate all Sri Lankans if the conflict escalates into war. Health warning. Island nation at risk of losing future workforce due to rising childhood health issues and declining birth rates, warn health officials. Make the call. Sri Lanka must decide on adopting nuclear power, says Russian envoy. Talks with Russia could also open alternative oil supply routes. Taking the gavel. New president and Court of Appeal judges sworn in at the Presidential Secretariat today.
Cinec Campus Open Day. May masa 3 වෙනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට Cinec Campus පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
Enrolling now for the June 2025 intake and complete your degree in 2 years.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Dirisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms. Recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now in your top story tonight, as hostilities between Israel and Iran escalate further, US President Donald Trump refused to provide certainty on the question of active US involvement in the ongoing conflict in the Mideast. However, despite the uncertainty in Trump's rhetoric, foreign media observed irregular movements of US military assets in the Middle East. According to official sources, intense bombing continued today on both sides, with Iranian strikes against a hospital in Beersheba, Israel, killing 32 and injuring many, including a Sri Lankan. To avoid being struck by fatal blows, the Sri Lankan embassy in Iran has been relocated from Tehran to the north of Iran, while the Sri Lankan Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijitha Herath assured the repatriation of all Sri Lankans in Israel if the conflict in the Middle East escalates to a war.
As the intense exchange of fire between Israel and Iran stepped into its 7th day, the death toll in Iran breached 639. Meanwhile, in Israel, authorities have not released much information on the fatalities. As the rest of the world looks on at the rapid escalation of the conflict, the US administration continued to offer mixed signals about whether the United States would directly intervene in the ongoing conflict. President Donald Trump, who yesterday demanded for Iran's unconditional surrender, was confronted with the question, would the US join Israel in striking Iran's nuclear facilities?
You don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You would have had a country. Because look, nothing's finished until it's finished. You know, war is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress. And we'll see. The next week is going to be very big. Maybe less than a week. Maybe less.
President Trump's statements come against a backdrop of the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, asserting that Iran would never surrender to anyone, while threatening that any US military intervention would result in irreparable consequences. As Trump keeps the world guessing about US military intervention in Israel's attacks against Iran, Bloomberg News, citing anonymous sources, reports that senior US officials are preparing for the possibility of a strike on Iran in the coming days. In a separate development, Al Udeid Air Base outside Doha, Qatar, a major US military base in the Middle East, has US military has not acknowledged the change. However, it comes after ships at the US Navy's 5th Fleet base in Bahrain also dispersed. In the meantime, Russian President Vladimir Putin declined to comment on speculation that Israel or United States may try to assassinate Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, stating that he does not wish to discuss the possibility and continued to push for a political solution to the Iran-Israel conflict. The Russian leader said the Iranian-Russian Treaty on Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, signed in January and ratified on June 15th, makes no provisions for defense cooperation, adding that Israel had not raised the issue. Meanwhile, today, the head of Russia's state-owned nuclear energy company warned that an Israeli strike on Iran's only operating nuclear power plant in Bushehr would cause a catastrophe on the scale of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. In the Middle East today, Israel and Iran have again exchanged blows, with Israeli fighter jets bombing Iran's capital Tehran and the city of Karaj, as well as a heavy water reactor at the Arak nuclear complex in northwest Iran. The Israeli military earlier ordered people near Arak and Kondab to flee their homes, saying their lives were at risk as they were targeting Iranian military infrastructure in the area. Several explosions have also been heard over the Jerusalem and Tel Aviv as a new wave of Iranian missiles targeted the country, resulting in at least 4 impact sites and injuring at least 65 people across the country. Iranian missiles caused serious damage to the Soroka hospital in Beersheba in southern Israel, where 32 people were injured reportedly. Following the attacks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Iran will pay a heavy price, while Israel's defense minister named eliminating Iran's supreme leader as a goal of the war, adding that it is a part of the campaign now. Iranian state media reports that the missile strike targeted a military site next to the hospital and not the hospital itself. Sri Lanka's ambassador to Israel, Nimal Bandara, noted on a Facebook post that a Sri Lankan female carer has reportedly been injured following the attacks at the Soroka hospital. He further added that she is currently receiving treatment and that a team will be dispatched from the embassy to assist with the matter. Reportedly, 5 Sri Lankans residing in Israel have been injured in the attacks, and 3 of them are currently recovering. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism today officially announced that the Sri Lanka embassy in Tehran has been temporarily relocated in the city of Rasht in northern Iran due to the escalation of the conflict. The ministry noted that more information on the matter can be obtained by contacting +98 939 205 5161, +98 991 205 7522, or +98 936 636 0260. Furthermore, any Sri Lankans who wish to leave Iran or any Sri Lankans seeking any assistance can reach the embassy on email via slmiran@yahoo.com. In the meantime, during the parliamentary session today, Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijay Therath stated that around 20,000 Sri Lankans are residing in Israel, while 35 Sri Lankans are residing in Iran. The minister further added that if the hostilities in the Middle East escalate to a war, necessary measures will be implemented to repatriate the Sri Lankans residing in Israel by sending them over to other countries through border crossings.
Now, meanwhile, Russian ambassador to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Levanesh Jagarian, states that the decision to establish a nuclear power plant in Sri Lanka with Russian expertise is an internal matter for Sri Lanka to decide. According to the envoy, Russia will not interfere in the nation's internal decision-making process, unlike other nations. Speaking on our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indiva Riamuatta, Ambassador Jagarian, addressing other energy-related issues, notes that Sri Lanka must engage in negotiations with Russia if it seeks alternative sources of oil, given the current global supply constraints.
They're also looking at technology and industrial controls, export bans on semiconductors, advanced electronics, and cut off from major global suppliers. Russia responded too with bans on exports of critical materials and boosted exports to China. Given the fact that Russia has weathered the storm of continued sanctions by deepening trade cooperation with friendly and neutral nations, is there an opportunity for Sri Lanka here going forward?
When we are ready, and we just were talking about it with Sri Lankan officials after my coming here. One of my proposals, not only mine but of my government, to set up a small nuclear power plant.
Were there any discussions?
No discussions.
Because I remember there were news items about
Yes, there are some proposals from our side, and there were some discussions between our Rosatom and the Sri Lankan colleagues. We are ready to start, but not only in this case, but also in other fields of our possible cooperation. One of the main obstacles is sanctions.
But despite US pressure, Indian crude imports from Russia continue, and Russia is dominating crude oil exports to India at this time. Sri Lanka was heavily reliant on Iranian crude as well. But given supply constraints surrounding oil supply, Sri Lanka will have to look at increasing the percentage of crude that comes from elsewhere. Isn't there a possibility for Sri Lanka to look at to obtain Russian crude to Sri Lanka?
Why not? If you want to negotiate, you should go to Moscow, your officials, and to discuss with Russian counterparts this issue. It's possible.
Given Sri Lanka's current energy requirements and grid capabilities, nuclear power integration appears not to be practical at present. Is that the concern?
No concern. We are ready to start negotiations. Russia is the only country which has enough expertise and experience to set up nuclear power plants. In India, in Bangladesh, we will start in Myanmar, we will start in Vietnam, in Turkey, we will complete it very soon, in Hungary, in Egypt we are negotiating, many countries.
What are really the benefits here?
It's a sort of alternative to coal, to oil, because for environment, nuclear is much more acceptable for environment. And also green energy. They don't rely only on renewable energy. Sri Lanka is an island surrounded by ocean. We have an experience to set up floating nuclear power plant, floating on water. But it's necessary to sit down and to talk. But first of all, it's necessary to have a just practical decision. But again, it's your domestic issue, it's your sovereign decision. Unlike some countries, we don't intervene into domestic affairs of independent countries.
සිනෙක් කැම්පස් ඕපන් ඩේ මැයි මස 3 වෙනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට සිනෙක් කැම්පස් පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
From geopolitics, taking you to some local political developments, the governing National People's Power have so far managed to consolidate power within 34 local government councils where no party secured an outright majority, bringing the total tally of councils under NPP control to 185. In the meantime, Parliament heated up today with the opposition accusing the ruling party of bribing independent groups and councillors from other parties to vote for the NPP at recent polls across several local government councils.
In the aftermath of the 2025 local government polls, uncertainty regarding the consolidation of power loomed over 178 local government bodies since no single party was able to secure an outright majority in those councils. Putting an end to that uncertainty within many such councils, several local government bodies convened under local government commissioners who called ballots to elect chairman and deputy chairman over the past few days. Accordingly, the governing National People's Power has so far managed to consolidate power within 34 of the 178 councils where no party secured an outright majority in the local government polls of 2025. Since the NPP claimed outright majority in 151 councils through the local government election, the addition of 34 councils to the NPP's tally brings 185 local government councils under the NPP's power. The main opposition party, the Samagijana Balawegaya, meanwhile, established power in a total of 19 local government councils. During today's elections within local government bodies, the Samagijana Balawegaya secured power in the Pathahewa Hatta, Bingiriya, Aranayaka, Paniwala and Thamalagamuwa local government councils. An independent group which contested under the symbol of the motorcycle established power in the Haputale Urban Council, bolstered by the SJB's support. The National People's Power meanwhile established power in the Chilo Urban Council as well as in Kantale, Yatiyanthota, Katuwana and Dodangoda Pradeshiya Sabha via secret ballots held in the respective local government councils. The election of the Dodangoda Pradeshiya Sabha was also held today, which was observed by Health Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa and SJB MP Jagat Withana. Victory was claimed by NPP's Nilisha Kaviratna De Silva, who secured 14 votes during the secret ballot, while SJB's Tenil Vishwashanta secured 10 votes.
The power in the grassroots, including that of Dodangoda, should be consolidated by the government led by the President in order to ensure development. Apart from our own members, parliamentarians representing other parties too have declared their support to us. We thank members who supported us as well as those who refrained from voting. We are not aware who supported us and who did not. I believe every member who voted for us voted according to their consciousness since it was a secret ballot. The symbol of the Sarvajana Bale must be changed. Leader of the Sarvajana Bale informed me at 8:30 am that both his party's councillors would back our candidate. However, by 9 am that decision changed. We will not be working with him again. I presented this proposal to our leader who accepted it. However, we lost and they won.
In the meantime, elections to consolidate power within local governments was a hot topic in Parliament today.
A colleague of mine claimed that I sabotaged the consolidation of power within the Dorangoda Local Government Council. On the other hand, I have been accused of forming deals with the NPP.
Ideologically, that they are in that beggar's mentality and this country will not move forward and we have no intention whatsoever.
We have no intention of entering into deals with the NPP, who is responsible for our current plight. Immediately after the local government elections concluded, along with senior leaders of our party, stated we would not enter into agreements with any party. However, what happened? They misused the secret ballot worse than even before. By misusing secret ballots, they exploited our honest intentions. We had the intention of communicating our message to the people. We will neither engage in cheap politics nor we will engage in deal-based politics. That is our aspiration. The NPP's underhanded tactics curbed our ability to express ourselves. We clearly stated that we will not form deals with the opposition simply because we are an opposition party. We are indeed disappointed. They are poaching our members by promising them money. Such acts are wrong despite what party lines. MP Jagat Vitana made a mistake when he stated, I sabotaged the consolidation of power in the Dorangoda Local Government Council. Members of his own party voted for the other side. The NPP is driving the country towards a path more corrupt than ever before. I make this statement with deep regret. A group comprising the UNP, SLPP, SJB and the Sarojana Balaya who got together now point fingers at us, claiming that we allied with other parties. Sarojana Balaya's leader claimed that we possess a beggar's mentality. He claims that we are ideologically poor since we have formed an impure alliance. He is of the opinion that the NPP's reputation is stained since we acquired support of independent groups and other candidates to consolidate power in local government councils. He claims that we have forgotten why we were brought to power. He made those statements as if he elected us to office. Where is he now? He is questioning our party while being very independent. The so-called independent SJB joined the Rajapaksas. The alliance was so powerful that those who were involved in the Velad agreement are not able to talk about it today. They who engage in such conduct question our purity today.
Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala reveals that a shocking 37 inmates who were listed for release under the presidential pardon by the new government have not yet been released. Speaking during today's parliamentary session, the minister added that once the ongoing investigations conclude, the relevant lists and other related documents will be tabled in Parliament.
Popular Malayalam actor Mohanlal Vishwanathan, who is currently in Sri Lanka for a film shoot, visited the Parliament of Sri Lanka today. He was welcomed at the invitation of the Deputy Speaker Dr. Rizvi Sali.
On behalf of the Speaker of the Parliament of Sri Lanka, I wish to welcome our veteran Indian filmmaker and film actor, Padma Shri Padma Bhushana, Dr. Mohanlal Vishwanathan to the gallery of the Parliament of Sri Lanka, Speaker's Gallery.
We too extend our wishes and welcome them. Thank you very much.
Subsequently, parliamentary proceedings commenced today. The president recently granted a controversial presidential pardon. Unfortunately, the individual released is from the Anuradhapura district. The Commissioner General of Prisons and several prison officers have been arrested in connection with this incident. But has a statement even been recorded from the Secretary to the Ministry of Justice? The Secretary receives the list of proposed pardons on 2 occasions. There have been past instances where incorrect lists were corrected at the Presidential Secretariat. The Secretary to the President is ultimately responsible. Yet today he is not taking that responsibility. During previous governments, even inmates sentenced for murder were released. An investigation is currently underway into those decisions. Please allow me to explain. We know that there are 2 separate processes, the presidential pardon and the general amnesty. The issue arose because both lists were printed on the same paper. This is not a mistake by the president. The specific inmate in question was not included in the official list. However, someone claimed that the inmate's name was in letter from the president and a CID investigation was initiated. Now all relevant prison officials have been arrested. This issue is not only about releasing 1 inmate. There is also a concern regarding the non-release of 37 inmates who were included in the list. Please be patient until the investigations are concluded. There are many documents and matters to be tabled in Parliament. I will present them in due course so you are fully informed.
Welcome back. Now in other local news, the Health Promotion Bureau has identified an alarming rate of consumption of sugar-based food among Sri Lankan preschoolers. Speaking at a recent press briefing, Professor Pujitha Wickramasinghe warned the current weak health condition of children will cause a cascading effect on the overall health of the country's population in the future.
Preschool children are consuming sugar-based food at a high rate. Children are consuming this type of food such as cake and biscuits 4 times more than the recommended amount, and around 60% of preschool children consume carbonated drinks. There's a recommended amount of vegetables, greens and fruits that adults and children have to consume per day. One has to consume 2 vegetables, 2 fruits and 1 type of green per day. However, according to a survey conducted in the Kurunagala district, only 18.2% of children are following this diet.
මේ එළවලු දෙකයි පළතුරු දෙකයි පලාවක් කියන ප්‍රමාණය ආහාරයට ගන්න එක.
අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම මතක තියාගත යුතු දෙයක් තමයි ළමයින්ගේ ඇතිවන දුර්වල සෞඛ්‍ය තත්ත්වයේ බලපෑම ඇති වෙන්නේ.
What we must keep in mind is that the effects of the weak health condition of children will manifest in the next 20 to 25 years. It means that we are building a weak society. We know that the country's birth rate has also decreased significantly from 300,000 to 250,000. This means the country will lose its workforce in the future, and if half of the workforce is weak, it will have a cascading effect on the future of the country's well-being.
අතිවිශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් රෝගී බලකායක් විදිහට ගියොත් අපි ඒක ලොකු බලපෑමක් රටේ අනාගත තත්ත්වය පවත්වාගෙන යනවා.
Now in some law and order related updates, former Minister Keheli Ramukwala along with his wife and daughter who were arrested over money laundering allegations were released today after they met the bail conditions imposed upon them. Meanwhile, former Minister Duminda Disanayake was further remanded until the 26th of June by the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court in relation to the recent discovery of a gold-plated T-56 firearm at an apartment complex in Havelock City, Colombo.
Former Minister Keheli Ramukwala, his wife and his daughter, who were held in remand custody yesterday after failing to meet bail conditions following their arrest in connection with an investigation into money laundering allegations, were released today after meeting their bail conditions. However, former Minister Ramukwala's 2 daughters and son-in-law were arrested today after appearing before the Bribery Commission to record statements. The trio were produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court, where a foreign travel ban was imposed on them. Each suspect was later granted bail, with bail being set at cash bonds of 50,000 rupees each and surety bond of 5 million rupees each. However, one daughter was unable to fulfill the bail conditions and was taken back to prison. The case is scheduled to be taken up again on August 26th. Meanwhile, former Minister Duminda Disanayake, who was arrested in connection with the discovery of a gold-plated T-56 firearm in Havelock City, was produced before the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court today. During the hearing, Terrorism Investigation Division officers argued against granting bail to the suspect as the investigations related to the incident have not yet been completed. Accordingly, former Minister Disanayake was ordered to be held in remand custody until the 26th of June.
Meanwhile, the new president and the judges of the Court of Appeal swore in at the Presidential Secretariat today. Former Senior Additional Solicitor General, President's Counsel Nalin Ruhantabesuriya took an oath of office as the new President of the Court of Appeal before President Andru Kumara Disanayake at the Presidential Secretariat. Meanwhile, former High Court judges Don Francis Hathurasinghe Gunawardena and Aditya Kanta Madduma Patabandige were also sworn in as judges of the Court of Appeal in the presence of the President at the Presidential Secretariat. Welcome back. Now in your business-related updates, the Colombo Stock Exchange announced the appointment of Dimuthu Abesekura as the new chairman of its board of directors today. Abesekura is a veteran in Sri Lanka's capital markets, bringing more than 35 years of industry experience to the role. He has served on the CSE board for the past 6 years, contributing significantly to the exchange's strategic direction and governance. Now in other business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange remained in negative territory today as a result of price losses in counters such as LLC Holdings, John Keel's Holdings and Ceylon Tobacco Company. The benchmark all-share price index dropped 1.48% lower to settle at 16,000 818.21 points, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 dropped 1.48% to close at 5,019.15 points. Market turnover crossed 3.3 billion rupees. The banking sector was the top contributor to turnover, followed by the capital goods sector. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net buyers, purchasing shares worth 136 million rupees. And now here's a look at today's exchange rates. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.